Aren't moss-covered bricks so pretty in the rainy season? Until you slip on one and fall on your tailbone, like I did today.
I got a delinquent speeding ticket that is now $666, the sign of the devil. I'm a speed demon, but geez.
Jeez. The IRS sent me an important piece of mail that I had to sign for. Unbeknownst to me, it's been sitting at the post office for 3 weeks.
I drove through a rainbow the other day, through it. If that isn't a good omen, I give up.
Have such a good day. Oh, hello, and welcome back to Have Such a Good Day, the show that wants desperately, more than anything, for you to have a good day. Maybe you're already having a good day, and we're just going to make it all that much sweeter. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our pod. Our cute little pod.
It's like pandemic, but global.
Yeah, we were the original
Well, the
pod.
pandemic is also global.
Before the pandemic pod.
It's a safe pod that is global.
It's very much a safe space.
We will not make you sick, I promise.
Exactly. And, we're here to kind of hopefully entertain you with life's trials and tribulations. Maybe you'll walk away feeling happier and chuckle a little bit. That's kind of the point.
Yes, we are not medical professionals, but boy, do we have a lot of tribulations. So let's all get in this boat together and see what happens.
Do people even use that word anymore? I never hear that word.
Tribulations?
Yeah.
Trials and tribulations I read. I know what it means, but yeah, I don't drop that phrase all that often.
I think that there was a lyric in LCD Sound System in one of his songs, Tribulations. I think that was like the name of one of his songs.
I think it is Tribulations.
Yeah. And it was a great song. I used to love, oh my God, when we first lived in Santa Monica way back when, Sarah, that was like the album, one of that one album, I can't remember the name of it, but I used to listen to that like on repeat.
Yeah, it was
Losing My Edge.
Losing My Edge was sort of the radio hit. In fact, I remember specifically you and me and Mark Fahey and I don't know, like a couple other people. I don't totally remember who else was there, but we went to see LCD at the Wiltern.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it was early days. For anybody who's not familiar with, it's really a guy, but it's when they do live shows, it's a band, and almost like a jam band type of thing where the songs go on really long and lots of dancing. And we had gone and we danced our asses off. It was like a school night. We were working, but you know what I mean? It was a weeknight. And it was so much fun. And I remember being it was like a religious experience. I've seen LCD Sound System a couple times since then. Mm-hmm. It was never as good as that first time because I was like, yeah, they're kind of doing the same set again. Like, this is fun. And people are like losing their minds. But yeah, that was it. It's one of my favorite memories from the early days of Los Angeles.
I know, me too. And James Murphy is like the lead singer.
James Murphy.
And
That's
he's, wow, so brilliant. I always wanted to meet that guy. But yeah, the band was comprised of so many people. It was almost like overwhelming. Like they had like someone in the back doing a triangle and then like whatever, like all these different percussion. But yeah, that was, wow, those are the days, seriously.
Yeah.
So when will we ever go to a concert again, Sarah?
That was, in fact, I know when it was. It was 2005.
Oh,
I had gone
good memory.
through it. Well, I remember it well because I had gone through a pretty hard breakup not that long before. So I was in this sort of weird point in my life, and I've mentioned on the show in the past that I'm not really a concert person.
Yeah.
I'm never the one who's like rallying the troops, like, I'm going to buy 5 tickets and you guys pay me back and we're all going to go. But you had done that and it was like, Sarah, you should come. And I was like, I don't want to.
I was that
hate
guy
everybody.
back then.
You were. And I went and I was like, I remember during the show, and dancing and just being like, we're crazy, like having so much fun. It was good energy and being like, you know what? I'm going to be okay. I've been really sad lately, but I'm super happy right now, and I remember happiness again.
I love that. So it's a good memory.
It sticks in my mind pretty
Sometimes you have
vividly.
To force yourself out into the world, as much as you want to just sort of dwell in stuff and sort of be at home. It's just to force yourself out of your comfort zone can be really hard sometimes, but it really makes a huge difference.
And that moment where you're like, oh, I'm joyful.
Yeah.
I'm still capable of this. Yeah, I've been wallowing for a bit now, but it's like I didn't lose my joy. It's there. I just have to, water it a little bit.
You have to
give it some
drudge it up
fertilizer.
sometimes.
Yeah. Well, Heather, I don't know how your week has been, but it's sort of my least favorite and most favorite time of the year for a couple different reasons. Least favorite just because it's like, we're still in that, I mean, we're into February now, so, happy Valentine's Day coming up, everybody. But it's a little bit like, all right, still cold outside. Got a solid month and a half or so until things start blooming again. It's really
And the
kind of
groundhog said it's going to be a longer winter, which is
April.
always
The
a huge
groundhog always
disappointment.
says that. I mean, when at the beginning of April are we like, cool, it's summer? But yeah, that's sort of, it's kind of,
It's the funniest tradition.
It's a little bit of a slog
wacky.
this time of year. It is. It just is sort of, I don't know.
I agree.
February,
I'm with
whatever.
you.
If your birthday's in February, then it's fun. But, well, I don't know. It depends on what you're doing. But
Yeah.
But that's kind of, that's one side of the spectrum. But the other side of the spectrum that I always love is award season.
Woo-woo.
Yay. So I'm talking about, the Emmys happen later in the year. In fact, we had our Emmys not that long ago. I guess it was like the end of the summer. But, it's Golden Globes, you got Oscars, you got Screen Actors Guild, you got Directors Guild, you've got, there are a couple others that are more independent Spirit.
Yep.
Anyway, award shows have just always been my favorite thing. Sort of, it's a little bit of the spectacle, like, ooh, who's wearing what? Oh,
Sure.
look at, so-and-so, they came together kind of thing. It's going to be a little bit different. Obviously, there's pandemic stuff, social distancing. Don't even know if it's possible to hold anything live. The Emmys were, if you watched any of those, it was interesting because they just had small crews go to a bunch of different pods where nominees were, with either by themselves or with like a few of their like loved ones, like hanging out in living rooms or small rooms with like a couple banquet tables type thing. So it was all very remote, and that, I don't know, it worked fine, but it was weird, but everybody understood why it was happening. So not totally sure what's going on with all the award shows this year, but it's not so much about the show itself. It's not even so much about who wins, but when I'm in this kind of like nestled in my cold apartment and it's still winter outside, what I do is I give myself permission to binge all of the like, what's up for Best Picture? What have I not seen? And so I watch everything, so I feel like I have just lots of context about, well, this is maybe what's going to win, or this is the favorite, but this is what my favorite is. Way more fun for me to watch it that way. Because there have been years where I just was like, I don't know, I fell off. I didn't go to the movies that much, or I've only seen like 2 of the 7 nominees for sound design, and so I just have no opinion. It's just way more fun when you have an opinion.
It's so much more fun. Yeah.
And it lets me watch a bunch of movies that are probably better than they are not good. And so, yeah, I'm down with that. And Golden Globe nominees were released recently. Some of the stuff in it's movies and TV. Golden Globes, it's the Hollywood Foreign Press. If you're not familiar, you probably are. But there have been some interesting choices and a lot of stuff I haven't seen. A lot.
Yeah.
In fact, the Golden Globes historically will drum up, I don't know, like a mini series where I'm like, I've never even heard of that. And so
Yeah.
it's fun for me to do a little deep dive and take my own notes. So I am looking forward to that.
I need to get on that because I mean, we watch a lot of movies, obviously. I don't watch as many TV shows these days, but Nomadland with Frances McDormand, I really want to see that. I'm not really sure when it is going to be out for us, but yeah, I wonder how the award season is going to go this year. I out of all the goddamn years I was invited to the Oscars this year, and it's like, great. I mean, that seems so unfair. Like, I'm
What
supposed
do you
to go
mean
to the
you
Oscars,
were invited
but-
to the Oscars?
Well, one of my good friends works for the Academy Museum, and she goes to the Oscars, and so she invited me last year, like way last year, like, I'm taking you next year, and brought it back up a while ago, but I mean, there isn't really going to be much of anything, so I'm like,
Well, yeah,
shit.
I mean, that's you probably know more than I do. I mean, is
Yeah.
there a plan? Like taking you to the Oscars, what does that mean?
Well, I mean,
Is
I don't,
there
I mean, I
is
don't
there
think it's
is
going
there
to
going to
happen
be
now.
amphitheater? Or
No,
yeah.
I don't think so. That's the thing is like I'm hoping that she'll take a rain check so that I can go next year when things open up. But I don't know. It's funny. I feel like I've been in such a like retrospective movie period where I'm just like watching old movies and just classics and stuff. So I'm not really on top of like the pop culture right now. It's weird. It's kind of nice actually. It's nice to kind of just like take a break. But I am definitely excited about some of these movies that I've heard some buzz about, especially that Frances McDormand. I love her.
Yeah, I don't even know what movie you're talking about, so that'll definitely be on the list.
Yeah, and then there's actually a few other ones. Gosh, there's a couple like smaller movies. I can't remember the name. One about like a cow. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's supposed to be really good. I can't remember exactly.
Thanks for the rec,
God.
Heather. I can't really remember. There's a cow, I think. It's supposed to be really good.
There might be some milk or like something like that.
There was mooing and a lawn.
Yeah, and then I think that more of like some of the foreign films are on my radar. There's a couple foreign films that I want to see, but yes, let's report back. Let's watch some stuff. Let's start a little award season movie club, and we'll report back on what we're watching.
Let's do it. And by the way, this actually wasn't on any Golden Globe list, and I'm bummed about it because I love the show so much. Heather, have you seen Pen 15?
No, I know what it is, but I've not seen it.
So Pen 15, it's like ha, like leet speak, like if you're a kid for the word penis.
Yeah.
Ha. It's like 1-5 instead of is at the end. And it is on its second season. The first season I think was in 2019, a couple years ago. Second season just became available somewhat recently. It's a Hulu TV show. And it is, I mean, there's not really anything to spoil, but it's about two girls, like best friends. They're in 7th grade, and you go like, "Ooh, is it going to be like a kid show?" It's very adult content in some ways, but definitely framed around how kids are super awkward and how they think when they're like 12, 13 years old.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Oh my gosh, it's really funny. I mean, it's cringy funny, but it's very well done. I totally recommend it, and I hope they win an award maybe next year.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just thinking about Mike Mills in our Discord. He was recommending this show called Kim's Convenience, and I looked it up. I'd never heard of it.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't seen it. People love it.
I assumed it was like a family in a convenience store and like hilarity ensues, and I think I'm somewhat on the right track. But yeah, I want to check that out. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, Mike Mills, a new patron he's not a new patron, but he's a new Discord patron.
He's a new Discorder.
Because he upped his pledge. Thank Mike.
Yeah, man.
So Heather, how's your week been?
My week's been good, kind of intense. I mean, lots going on as usual. It has been raining cats and dogs for like 10 days. It's kind of insane. My boyfriend's like really feeling a little tired of it, but it's been sunny the last few days. We've got like a week of sun and things are blooming, and I'm going to get outside today and do some yard work, and I'm pretty pumped on that. But we are okay, and we are enjoying our lives despite everything going on. But the other day, I did receive a very heavy and wonderful package from a friend, and it arrived via FedEx. And this was the last rainy day of the 10-day spell. So like
Everything was
I
just
can't really
soggy.
express to you how muddy everything was. And our driveways, so we have 2 driveways that come down that have gravel on them, but like we do need to re-gravel them. It's definitely on my list. I never thought I'd have a trip to the gravel factory on my to-do list, but I do. But it's been really, really muddy. In fact, I've kind of slipped around when I kind of drive out, and it's a little dangerous. And we do have like our Airbnb guests, so we really need to fix it. But I feel a little bad because that day was a crazy torrential rain, and I felt really bad for the FedEx guy because I mean it was literally you step outside and you're soaked like right away. It was like really big raindrops, And this poor guy. So I don't know if you heard this, but FedEx, I mean, like package delivery systems, whatever it is, FedEx, I don't know, DHL, UPS, they're so overwhelmed right now because of COVID, because so many people are ordering online, that they're like renting U-Haul trucks and vans to deliver things because they just don't have enough vehicles. And so this guy was in a U-Haul van, actually. And it was a little confusing anyway. So he drops off this incredible gift that was actually from you, Sarah. It was a huge, awesome surprise. And when I say huge, I mean very heavy and a very large weighted blanket that is seriously so decadent and amazing. In fact, last night I was feeling kind of down about my dad. I was laying on the couch and Elijah goes, hold on, I have something for you. He goes into the bedroom and I didn't know what he was doing. And he brought the weighted blanket and put it on me so that I would just like relax. It was pretty great.
For anybody who's not like, what blanket? It's a
I'm not explaining this very well.
Well, yeah, I'll just explain really quick. It's a blanket that's designed to be really heavy. It's kind of don't even really know what's in them, but it's like it's almost sort of
recycled material,
a knotted kind of look.
Yeah,
and it, I'm sure your mileage will vary, but it's designed to kind of like help pressure points and help someone feel kind of a little bit more relaxed and sort of safe and secure and like a little pod.
Yep.
And I've got a couple of friends who rave about their weighted blankets. And I was like, you know what? I would like to hug Heather right now. Can't really do that. So I'm going to give her a big old heavy blanket. And I'm so glad it's working out.
And she kind of deterred me because she's like, I have something coming for, Zig and Char, which are my kitties. And I was like, okay, like a cat toy. And then I get this huge box with this heavy, like I couldn't even pick it up. The poor FedEx guy, like I said, torrential rain, he was all muddy, drops this thing off. And I'm like, oh my God, like I won today. I got this incredible, luxurious like gift. And this poor guy leaves my house and gets stuck in the mud.
Oh dear.
I'm not kidding. The guy was stuck in the mud for 2 hours, revving his wheels, and just it's churning and churning
mud
and churning.
Flying
while
everywhere.
I'm like,
you're like,
while I'm like
so
curled up
cozy
in this blanket. I'm like, I'm such a bitch. But yeah, just really quick, it's called Barabee, this blanket, and it's really wonderful. And I highly recommend. I told all my friends about it. They're all really jealous, actually. And I didn't know that much about weighted blankets, and I've heard of them. But I did a bunch of research after that came, and I had some friends that were like, oh, I've always wanted one of those. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't even really know about it. Though when I went to the website, they looked familiar. And I think I have seen them like on Instagram or something.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. And you can get different weights. Like there's like a 15 pounder, 20 pounder, and I think maybe a 25.
I
and
think so,
different
yeah.
colors. And there's like the velvet one, which is what I got. And then there's like other materials. But it's quite wonderful. I mean, it really is kind of a game changer. So if anybody out there is needing a little extra cuddle and a little less anxiety, you should definitely check it out, Barabee. This is not an ad, by the way.
No, it just happened to be the one I chose.
Long story short, I got the dopest gift. I won. And then the poor FedEx sap got stuck in the mud and he lost. But you know what? The tables will turn again. And there will be a time when he wins and I lose. But you know what I did? He was out there for so long. I brought him a bar. Like I brought him like one of those Cliff bars. I don't know. He was pretty
that's
pumped.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't been stuck in the mud. I don't know if I've ever been stuck in the mud ever in a car. I mean, I'm not driving U-Haul vans around all that often, but I did get my car. My driveway is paved, but it's on an incline, and.
Oh, lucky you.
I know. Lucky me. Well, but it can be a little precarious in the driveway itself of where I live, because I've got my little unit and then there's the big house and then there's a third house, and the big house and the third house kind of, I always tell people like, try to park 90 degrees kind of on that side. Just don't block me. As long as you don't block me, you drive, park however you want. You can block each other, but just don't block me. And really there's about, if you got really creative, you can put 5 cars in the driveway. That's including mine. Well, people just don't always listen, or I don't know, things are weird. And so there have been a couple times where I have to back down out of the driveway. It can be done, but you have to be really careful because there's sort of a curve. And on one side, there's a fence. You don't want to hit the fence. And on the other side, there's kind of like it's like a cement wall, like a half wall. And then there's like palm trees and just shrubbery that's sort of on the other side of that wall, and then there's another fence, and then there's another property on the other side. So you really got to stay within the lines, you know what I mean? And there was one time where I was kind of in a hurry. Everybody was parked, when I say everybody, it's like the Airbnb guests. They're parked all willy-nilly. I could get out, but I could only go out backwards. And so I was like, And I went over like the cement on the left-hand side, and I was stuck.
Oh shit.
And I was like, oh fuck. Like, you know, and I'm revving and I'm like trying not to bother anybody because it's loud. You know, I just don't want to be that person. And also I'm like, I'm really stuck. I had to call AAA.
Oh shit.
And here I am in the driveway thinking all someone has to do is like want to go to the store really quick, and then they're stuck because I was still like taking up enough of the driveway that no one could get past me. I just had like one wheel over, and the AAA guy came and like got me out in like 5 seconds, so no big deal. But sometimes you're really in a jam.
Yes, this is true. I get it. And, you know, being in places like ours, you know, in the country, and it took me, you know, drove into town this morning to record the show, and it's quite a journey. It's like, I can't really explain it. It's like I'm going down like dirt roads and I'm getting on the freeway, and it's just like a whole thing, and visibility is pretty bad. But you know, Sarah, out of any place that I've never been, I could just like draw a plan of like your property, because I've never been there, but we've talked so much about it in detail that I could literally just like draw a picture of it.
Well, you know, you are welcome anytime. Let's get those vaxes, and you know, then you can. We'll
have a sleepover.
Totally. Hey, I got a queen size bed. I don't need the whole thing. Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. But yes, overdue. I mean, I've never been to where you live either. I've seen lots of pictures. I've heard about it, but yeah, I only have a sort of my imagination version of what it looks like.
Which can be fun. Yeah. Yeah, you got to come up in the spring or the summer. It's gonna be gorgeous.
Yeah, we will work something out.
We will.
So we were talking about our Discord fam earlier in the show, and it's a great fam, by the way. If you are interested in chatting with us between shows, please do. At a certain patron tier, patreon.com/havesuchagoodday is where you learn more about how to get into Discord, and it's just super fun. We're all a nice bunch of folks, and sometimes the stuff we talk about on Discord bleeds over into the show. Sometimes it doesn't. So it's just kind of a nice way to take you through the week before you hear us again. But
and it goes in waves.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes we're all busy.
Like sometimes it's kind of quiet, and then sometimes we're just like yakking up a storm.
Exactly. Yeah. I had asked everybody the other day, because I wasn't totally frustrated about it, but I had on my mind the different styles of communication etiquette, and I'm really talking about, you know, technology-based communication etiquette, but I don't know, just communication in general, that really bothers me, because etiquette is not the same. You know, some people are like, oh, this is the way you politely start a conversation, or this is how I would ping so-and-so. And maybe it's different for that other person because we talk a different way. So I'm certainly not going to say, oh, the way that I do things is the right way to do things, but I still have my preferences. And sometimes I get so annoyed with other people for not having the same preferences as me. So, case in point, I have this friend. I'm almost positive he will never listen to this, but I will try to stay vague. And I just in case you do listen to this, friend, I won't mention you by name, but this is not, no one's right or wrong here. It's just me. But we sometimes like days will go by. In fact, the other day, we hadn't talked in a couple of weeks, and we usually talk more often than that. And I didn't think anything was wrong. It just had been a while, you know, and I was kind of like, you know, he was maybe going to go out of town. I didn't know if that happened. And so I texted like, yo, stranger, long time no talk. How are you? You know, something like that. And like a couple days went by, and then I texted again like, hey, you okay? Like, not worried, but everything cool? And just nothing again. And what I realized a couple days after that was he was seeing my text and then leaving me voicemails as like hey, I just was going to call. And that's fine, except that it's so rare that someone does that. And for some reason, I don't know, the notifications weren't coming through. I wear my wireless Bluetooth earbuds a lot when I'm like out and about listening to podcasts and stuff. And maybe that's screwing up my sort of home screen, lock screen, iPhone notifications. I have no idea. But I also just don't like voicemails. In fact, if you call me, you will hear on my voicemail outgoing message, hi, if you'd really like to get a hold of me, hang up and send me a text.
And you were one of the first people to do this, I'd like to say. You had that voicemail for a long time.
Oh yeah, I haven't changed it in like over 5 years, if not more.
Oh,
maybe
longer
10.
than that. Yeah.
And it's not like, listen, if you need to leave me a voicemail, it occasionally that happens, right? Like if my doctor's calling to be like, everything looks good, it's like, probably not going to get a text. I'll just get a voicemail and I'm like, great.
Yeah.
Luckily I'm healthy. That did happen recently. But in general, it's just sort of this box that there's like some stuff in there that are super old, but it should just sort of be blown out. There's nothing in there that's of any value to me. And I was like, when we finally figured out the disconnect between our communication, I was like, why are you leaving me voicemails? You hear my outgoing. And he was like, I don't know. It just seems more like personalized. And I was like, I guess. I mean, I'm happy to hear your voice. I just wasn't checking that. So, okay, whatever. I just find if I ping you, and ping used to be like this, like, oh my God, ping, what a dumb term. But now I use it for everything. If I'm trying to be like, hey, you good? The text is the way to do it.
Sure.
And then getting a voicemail back, I'm like, we're adding all this friction. It just like doesn't need to happen. What if I don't see your thing? What if I don't notice, my little red notification, upper right-hand corner of the phone icon that there's like now 3 voicemails instead of the one from last year that I still haven't listened to? It's just like, why are you doing this? You heard my directions, man.
God, this is a topic that is always so topical, I feel like. I definitely, I got another text last night that my voicemail is full. I keep getting those texts, and I just deleted like 100 voicemails from spam calls, mostly spam calls that leave stupid messages. And so I deleted them all, and I'm like, I should be good. No, I'm full again because of more spam calls. It's like, I mean, where to even begin this conversation? There's just so many pet peeves I have. But that is kind of funny. Why couldn't he just write you back and go, yo, I'm good. I'll call you this weekend. Or,
right.
what's a good
or
time
like,
to chat?
because when he's calling me, excuse me, when he's calling me, he's hoping that I pick up, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe he's hoping it goes straight to voicemail, but probably not. It's like, usually you're like, is this a good time? Mm-hmm. Because it often, for me, it's like, I do live stuff midday. We're doing a podcast right now. I can't answer the phone. It's like, there are times where I'm like, oh, no, give me 90 minutes. Or,
Sure.
5 p.m. would be great or whatever. Mm-hmm. Because it's like when it's more intrusive to have a phone call, even though you might really want to hear that person's voice, all good. Mm-hmm. So anyway, there's voicemails that I don't know. We got over it. We're still friends. Everything's fine. But there's also folks who will, okay, so I have very few people I will talk to on the phone regularly, but there are certain friends where I'm like, I'm happy to take the call. We can talk for up to an hour. It's fine. It's just, there are just a lot of people who are more texters and people who are more phone people, and all good. Mm-hmm. But I will often, there's maybe some sort of back and forth, or maybe you're on the phone and the person's like, "Ooh, that's my mom calling. I gotta take this. Let me call you back." Okay, great, fine. I never bothers me. And then I'll get the phone call back sometimes after I've already gone to sleep, where I'm like, mm-hmm. Did you really want to like pick the conversation back up at 10:30? Or I'm still awake and I see the phone ringing and I'm like, oh no, we're not. We've gone past the marker here. I don't mm-hmm. want to like get into a phone conversation at this hour. And I mean, I'm not 85 years old, but I'm also not a huge night owl. Like, I don't want to talk out loud past 10 p.m. to anybody. Mm-mm. Even if they were sitting right next to me, I'm kind of like, I'm in sort of sleep zone at that point. You know, I'm winding down. And then the last thing before I just get off my soapbox here about just communication styles that drive me nuts. Now, this has a lot to do with dating, because often when when you think, oh, I might want to hang out with this person, and if it goes well, maybe we'll hang out again and again, with the perhaps eventuality of us dating, right? You got to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. You want to meet them in person. Of course, quarantine time, everything's totally different. It's been a weird year, but usually that's kind of how it goes. Maybe you talk for a little while, back and forth, but you want to see that person and be like, okay, what's the vibe? And it is the person who says, let's call it 4 p.m. It's 4 p.m. on a Wednesday. And this person says, hey, you want to get a drink tonight? And I'm like, tonight? What, like in like 3 hours? Or, hey, I was in your neighborhood. You around? And I'm like, none of your beeswax, because I'd like a 24-hour heads up. And it's like, it's funny because I'm even before we weren't, the places that we could go have been extremely restricted and limited. Even before that, I am happy to be a homebody a lot of the time. I like having plans. I like going places. I like doing stuff. I like meeting people out and about. But I need a heads up. And it has always like ground my gears just a little. I mean, I'm not going to get like mad at anybody, and this is not always dating, but this often happens where I'm like, ooh, yeah, you're that kind of like overly spontaneous kind of person. Or maybe you like had plans that fell through, and so you're asking me somewhat last minute. And the funny thing is that I have often said to people, oh, yeah, I just need like a little bit more heads up, because I'm doing work or I have plans. And that's not even true. I'm literally not doing anything, but it bothers me that it's like, oh, are you just free right this second? Let's get a drink.
Like it kind of like spikes anxiety a little, because you're like, wait, no, I have this idea in my mind of my quiet evening, but now you're kind of like throwing this like wrench
it's thrown
into
a wrench into my plans, and I didn't really have any plans, but I wanted to lead up to. If I knew I was going out tonight, I would have maybe set up my day a little bit differently.
Sure, of course.
It has nothing to do really with, I mean, if I'm busy, I'm busy. But I'm often not busy. I'm just like, I just didn't like the last minute nature of this whole thing. And so I'm going to say no. And if you'd like to do this tomorrow, that would be better for me. and sometimes that happens with, it does not always have to be like romantically inclined hangout. But I noticed that some people are just like that, where they're like, oh yeah, I just got a wild hair, want to join? And
yeah, the spontaneity thing is definitely depends on the moment, because like I'm mostly like you, Sarah, although there was a spontaneous thing that happened the other night, and I was actually pretty cool rolling with the punches. My boyfriend's birthday was a few days ago, and all he wanted was to get a grass-fed burger from this local place that's down the street, and he just wanted to have a really casual evening, get his burger and like be at home and watch some movies. And so we were like, made the whole plan, we went out for the day, and then we came back and went to the place, and it just happened to be closed because they had one of the employees got COVID, and it's been open this like whole time because it's more of a takeout place. And it was just kind of threw a wrench into our plan, but it ended up being for the better, because I was like, oh crap. So we need to find a restaurant probably in the town that's 25 minutes drive. But nothing's really open, but there's like a couple places that have cool patios. We lucked out, and it was one of those spontaneous things where I was like, this is way better than our original plan, and it forced my boyfriend out of this like hamburger cozy night thing. I kind of wanted to go out anyway. But it was actually kind of like a pleasant, spontaneous surprise, but most of the time I'm like you, Sarah, I'm like, no. And then what it does is it makes me feel like I made the wrong decision. And I'm like, should I have gone out? Man, I probably should have just taken the opportunity to go out. And then I start feeling bad about staying in. It's the whole thing.
This is not a thing I feel. I'm like, screw you, last minute person. I'm sitting here still. I have won.
There's maybe a rudeness to some of it sometimes. I'm not saying like your friend was rude at all, but like, yeah, like we're just different, like not totally. Everybody is like that.
Yeah. I have also, to be honest, listen, I'm in my 40s now. So it's when I say like when I was 25, literally 20 years ago. But when I was a lot younger, it was like, if you go to a bar and it's empty, right? Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, it's not that cool. Let's go somewhere else that's more lively. Like you actually want that sort of frenetic, crowded energy. And those things, I don't know, some people love that, to the day they die, but I have changed a lot. Sitting alone on a Friday night used to mean like, does anyone like me?
Love me?
Is everyone else doing cool stuff? And I didn't get invited to things. I wasn't really worried about that, but I would have been, because you want plans, you want to be like, yeah, I'm part of the fun. this is all, I'm not going to miss anything. I'll have FOMO if I don't go. Totally not that person anymore. And
You've really grown up, Sarah.
thank you very much. Yeah, I love a good relax. And
Oh God, me too.
I appreciate people wanting to hang out with me, but yeah, it's turned into something where I'm like, I don't want to be so militant about my calendar, but if you want to hang out with me, I want you to think just a little bit into the future and give me a little time to get used to the idea. Thank you.
Well, Sarah, I'm going to visit you in about approximately 2 months. So just clear your calendar.
Perfect. Yeah. Let me know. Yeah. If you're late, I'd like you to leave me a voicemail from the road letting me know. I won't hear the voicemail.
I won't text you. I just want to piss you off.
Yeah.
It's funny. I feel the same way about, my nights in, cooking, watching movies, like having a little dance party inside. I don't know, whatever I'm doing, drinking wine. I swear, it's like I can't get enough of that. And I think that's the problem for me. It's like if I go do something and I'm out and I'm whatever, I'm missing out on this amazing little like bubble that I've created that is so fun and, at home. And so it's like I want more of that. I can't get enough of it. I don't really get sick of it. So anyway, but I have one more thing to throw into this communication mix. Yesterday, I got an email. I thought it was spam, and the subject line was, "Chance this is Heather from the gym?" ? And then in the email in the body said, "Totally random, I know, but any chance that this is Heather from the gym from last February, pre-COVID? Apologies if not, RG." And his name's like Robbie something, Greenberg or something. And I'm like, okay, it's not spam, probably not, but was I even at a gym last February? I can't even remember. Like I did go to Equinox a couple times in LA, but like I don't remember meeting a guy. Maybe I did. It's like I literally cannot remember. That was a year ago, and I don't even know what to tell this guy. I'm like, maybe? I mean, I don't know.
That's so funny. I would write back and be like, I mean, possibly if you're just like thinking maybe that Frank was that other Heather's last name, like it could be a mistake, or you could have, like had like a pleasant conversation and he's been pining for you ever since.
I know. And then maybe also it's like, did he goes, it was one of those chance encounters, you used to have on Craigslist where it was like, did I see you on the train at the 9 a.m.
Oh, yeah,
blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, misconnections. Thank you. We've talked about this in a previous show way back when. But I'll probably write him back. I'm just sort of curious. And then of course I Googled his name and he's some like, he could be that, famous composer or whatever. I don't know. He has kind of a common name. So I will report back.
The famous composer who's been looking for you all this time.
All his life.
And finally it's like, were you that person at the gym? Like all of this time, like that's the email that you got. And you're like, maybe. We found each other. Now what?
Oh, so great. I love it. Life is hilarious.
It is.
So yeah, like I guess a couple weeks ago, I talked about how like being a proprietor is a lot like being a producer. So I'm not going to talk about that again, but I do want to mention an interesting aspect of my new gig is very much like, I feel like a Nancy Drew. I don't know if you ever read those books when you were a teenager. And I loved them. Yeah, they were amazing. I mean, it wasn't just Nancy Drew. There were a lot of other kind of spin-offs of like these sort of devious and like clever young women who were cracking cases or solving problems. And I used to have this running joke with an ex-boyfriend. He used to call me Heather Graham Cracker. It was a silly inside joke, but it was like, because I kept like, he thought I was like this sort of scrappy detective about things because I would just solve problems and blah, blah, blah. It was just a stupid inside joke. But anyway, I've always felt like being a private detective would be a cool job. And I have really felt a bit like a Nancy Drew lately. I mean, I have to really take a lot of time. I would say like, there's the producing aspect, the business stuff, of course, I'm doing that. That's not like totally like out of the realm of normalcy. But this stuff where I have to dig through files, really like scratch my head and like figure out and put these pieces together to figure out what my dad was thinking. Where is that meter at that building? It's like the wrong address. Like what, like stuff that's actually kind of weirdly fun, but also kind of head scratchy and annoying where I'm like, shit, I don't.
It's like a little detective work happening.
It's totally detective work. I'm telling you, like I'm just like in his office with like a, pen in my ear, and I'm going through these files, like trying to figure out what his like strategy was, or like why did he organize things in this way. I'll make some headway and I'll figure something out. And I'll be like, yes, now I understand. I understand what he was thinking. And all of his spreadsheets have like short form, like he put like E instead of like a fully written out thing, like for one of our properties, or like just like a nickname. He was really into like nicknames and so I kind of understand a lot of it now, but I did have to like kind of crack some codes. And also it's sort of funny. Like I've always been like a 2-key lifestyle gal. Like I've always just had 2 keys. I mean, really, like,
oh, like house and car type thing. Yeah.
House and car. That's it. Cute keychain maybe, but like had 2 keys. Never really had a lot of keys. I have like 14 keys now, and I have 18 codes to sheds and machine rooms, and we have 5 houses on the property. I have keys to all those. We have 15 buildings that have offices and separate apartments and retail space. I mean, there's keys for everything. I have keys to different bathrooms in different buildings. I mean, I'm going to become that person that has like that belt, with like a utility thing hanging off of it. All these keys. I'm be walking around with my keys, just like making noise. And anyway, it's very interesting. And I actually, in some ways, I'm enjoying it a lot because I do like the mystery part of it.
Well, I'm happy for you. It sounds like you have more keys than I do, but I too have always been I've always had more than 2 keys because it's like my mom's house, that's always
Sure.
on my keychain, even if I wasn't going there all that often. But yes, the smaller the keys that have to go into a smallish purse type thing, the better. And that's still more or less the case for the keychain that I use on a daily basis, but managing a property here as well. In fact, recently my landlord, there's like front door key, laundry room key, other house key, key to the tool shed.
Yeah.
There's like a clicky thing for like one gate, clicky thing for a different gate. One of the gates has like been broken for like a year. So it's like and I have a big box. It's in my house just because I'm the one who's here all the time. It's better that I have it in my house than, it gets like buried somewhere in the main house and guests like, I don't know, rummage through keys and mess things up. But it's like a huge Joe Malone box. I don't know why it's Joe Malone box. Something else was in there, a candle or something at one point. And it's just like a mess of keys. Some of them are labeled from the previous owners. Some of them are not. And like we got to the point where in one of the houses, there's a somewhat big hall closet where there's just a bunch of stuff in there. There's like a rug, lots of like extra sheets, like stuff that you would want to be able to access here and there. And we just call it like the owner's closet. So when a guest is staying in this particular house, it's just locked for them. But we couldn't find the key. And I mean, I must have 35 keys in my Joe Malone box up on top of my fridge. And we went through all of them and we're like, okay, this used to open. We've all like opened this closet before. I remember like physically, I like put a bunch of tools in there once just to get them out of the way. It has been open, but no one can figure out where the key is, including me. And so my landlord just went around and like on the tool shed, on that closet and a couple other places, he just ripped out the whole thing and put in, codes.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like type in, whatever the code is, 1976. That's none of our codes, by the way. It's just the year I was born. And then, and now you open it. All you have to do is, remember the code. If you forget, I don't know,
Then
write it
there's
down
all
or
the
ask
codes.
me.
Oh my God.
So that has been a huge godsend because I'm like, even with guests, you're like, the house is old enough so that there are certain, like for example, the front door, if you were to like go in the formal front door that's, on this big porch, it's a super old door. Like you can't actually like rip that apart and put a code thing on the doorknob. It just doesn't work that way. So I always just tell people, I mean, totally go in and out that door if you want, but try to go in and out the codes. Because if you lose the key to that front door, then we're all kind of in a world of hurt and I got to get a locksmith out here and, blah, blah, blah. It's just way easier to have the fewer keys to drop somewhere, the better.
I agree because I've lost my keys twice in the last 2 weeks, and it actually was pretty problematic. I got locked out of the house. I got locked out of my car, or I couldn't drive my car because I left my key at home. I had to be picked up. And I'm not usually this like spacey, and I know there's a lot going on, but the keys and the codes and the keys and the codes, I mean, I'm telling you, I have never, I have so many keys on my keychain that I have to like, shuffle through them. I'm like, is that the key for this door? Was it this office? And we have a machine room at one of our buildings. This is where my office is. So I've got like 3 office keys. And then this machine room that is an old phone number of my dad's. He uses like those numbers. And it's just part of the Nancy Drew thing, I feel like, because I'm like, I got these codes, I'm getting into these different rooms, and I leave payroll in there in a manila envelope. This is where my workmen like to pick up their checks. So every week at a certain time, I make sure to put his envelope in the machine room. I'm not going to give you the code, but I kind of hide it behind like the vent thing. We have like a certain spot, and it's just it feels kind of fun, and like we're playing a little game or something. And I think that my dad really enjoyed that. He liked that things were he did things in ways that he enjoyed. And so I'm going to keep those traditions going as much as they're not super digital, but I think it's actually kind of fun.
Sweet. All right. Well, I was about to say, let's move on to some housekeeping, but it's so not housekeeping. I mean, unless you like really like vacuuming or dusting or other things that I don't really like, but
I do not.
We have some fun, good news. Again, as I mentioned earlier in the show, if you are not a patron, please consider becoming a patron. Not mandatory. You can get the show for free anytime you like. But if you join as a patron at patreon.com/havesuchagoodday for as little as $1 a month, $1 per month, that's a quarter, 25 cents per show. We have lots of extra goodies for you, including hanging out in our Discord. That's at the $10 level. The $5 level, we've got some stuff. $1 level, you just become a patron. You get an ad-free show. Some people don't like ads. If you are one of those people, please consider joining. We have some good news. We've been talking about this for a few weeks now because we were inching up to 100 patrons. Now, we know some shows have like 1 million patrons. Well, maybe not 1 million, but there are a lot of Patreon campaigns and creative folks on the Patreon network who have a variety of success. Now, our success is slow but sure, slow and steady wins the race. And 100 is our very first milestone. We've been very excited to get to that point, and we are officially over it. And we're so happy about it. And we've sort of made a big deal about like, who's going to be our 100th patron? Just so happens, a few of you probably had the same idea of like, you know what? I think it's time. I'd like to be the 100th patron. And we got a few over the last week in a relatively short amount of time to each other. So just because we want to celebrate everybody who's our patron, by the way, everybody wins here, but Adam Clark, Kat Messer-Smith, and James Tisdale are all technically, and in our hearts, our 100th patron.
Woo-woo! Oh, this is so exciting. I love it. I just want to, I don't know, I want to throw a party.
Totally. Hey, 100 patrons we're super stoked, and we're going to grow to 200. So that's our next milestone, everybody.
I love it. And we're going to get there faster than we got to 100. I think because we were over 100 at one point, and then we took a pause. And then, COVID happened and everybody's lives just went into turmoil. So getting up to 200 is going to be a bit easier, I think. I do want to mention that Discorders, you're only at a $5 tier now. We used to be $10 for joining Discord, but now we're at the $5. So,
oh yeah, thanks for correcting me. That was dumb.
I guess last year, no worries. I mean, it's an easy thing to forget. But $5 is all you got to pay for a month to get into the Discord and chat with us pretty much all the time if you want. But if there's anything else you guys want to see from us, please let us know at hi@havesuchagoodday.com, because we're really open to doing more things for you guys to encourage you to join our community.
Whoop whoop. Got a few emails. We'll run through these quickly as we wrap up the show. Adam, who's one of our new patrons, says Kia ora, or greetings, Heather and Sarah from, I'm gonna say Dunedin, maybe it's Dunedin, New Zealand. Says way down south. Thanks heaps. I've been meaning to join for much too long. First of all, thank you, Adam. Also, Kia ora, new to me, cool. And I always know if someone's from Australia or New Zealand when they say heaps.
Oh yeah, totally.
Thanks a lot. Thanks heaps.
I love
It's just
it.
one of those things. I do have a friend who was born and raised in Hawaii, and he also says heaps. So who knows? Maybe it's a Pacific Ocean thing.
Yeah, I might have to bring that back.
Very cool.
Because there's a real correlation between where I'm at in Northern California and Hawaii. There's a lot of people that go back and forth. It's interesting. Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense geographically, but heaps. I love it. Thanks heaps, Adam. We're stoked we have you.
Thanks heaps, Adam.
I love that we have an international crew too. It's very cool. I would love to go visit New Zealand.
Me too. Yeah.
And we got a note from Jude S. And this is about, Sarah, what you were talking about last week about loaning money to friends or family.
Yeah.
The lesson here is never co-sign a contract or loan money to friends or family. The key to loaning money to someone is to know you are never getting that money back. If you can't afford it, better you don't get involved.
Very good advice, Jude. Definitely advice I will be taking going forward. And yeah, it's funny. This was in last week's episode, so if you missed it, I don't know, you can go back and listen to my story of woe. But yeah, I had loaned somebody a fairly big chunk of money, and I really didn't think I was never going to get it back, or I wouldn't have loaned it. You know, I am not the kind of person who's just got money to spare, and I have not gotten it back. And I've even been told, this is. We're years into this whole debacle by now, so I've kind of come to terms with, well, now I'm not getting it back. But I definitely thought I would at the beginning, and I had kind of gotten frustrated somewhere in the middle between now and back then. And a different friend of mine who heard the story looked at me and was like, "You're not going to get that money back, Sarah." And at the time I was somewhat annoyed, because I'm like, well, that's like a knock on the person who I loaned the money to, saying that they're not trustworthy, and also a knock on me saying I did something stupid. So it was advice I didn't want to hear at the time.
Sure.
But it was true. And live and learn. Live and learn.
You live and you learn.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
We also got a note from, this is my cousin. So her note is silly. She's being silly on purpose. But hi, Molly. My cousin Molly.
Hi, Molly.
Yeah, Heather knows Molly as well. She says, "Hi, Sarah. I'm related to you on your dad's side, my mom's side." Yes, Molly, I'm aware of that. She said, because we were talking about our roots, DNA tests, and figuring out if there's something in our genetics that we weren't aware of. She said, "I thought our side was totally Irish as well, because she's on my dad's side." But she did My Heritage, sort of like 23andMe, but a different company. She said, "My Heritage results showed only 12% Irish Scottish, 57% Scandinavian, 31% North and West European." Molly says, "Do what your mom wants you to do and get the darn DNA test so you can tell me if my results are whack or not." And yes, Molly, I'll do it. I've spent my entire life being like, hey, I'm not 100% Irish, but I'm mostly Irish. I almost don't want to know if that's not true, because it will change exactly nothing about me. I've only been to Ireland once in my entire life, but that's what I've always said.
You don't want to burst your bubble, just stay in your
like,
cozy little bubble.
Right. I'm like, can I handle a surprise at this point? I don't know if I can, but yeah, I'll get around to it after I pay my taxes off. I'll do it.
Yes, big trips for all of us when we pay our taxes and when we all get vaccines. It's going to be wonderful.
Oh my gosh, I know, all the things to do. And I got a note in the mail. Speaking of mail, my mail, I don't know, man. I mean, I literally got a holiday card 2 days ago from somebody who sent me a holiday card at the beginning of December.
And you got my birthday card like 2 months late, or a month late, or whatever it was.
Yeah. But then I mentioned something from the IRS, which required a signature, which I don't even know why it did, but it was at the post office. And the only reason I even know that is because I was sending something else, like Priority Express. So I went into the post office just like, this is probably safer than, putting the flag up on my mailbox at home. And while I was there, the woman was like, "Hold on a second. I think there's something for you here." And I was like, "There is?" Like, post office.
God.
And it was just like a letter from the IRS, and it's just, I don't know, it was something that I'm like not really sure why this required a signature, because I get other stuff from the IRS periodically about, here's a refund or here's what you owe or whatever, there's payment plan stuff I'm involved with. It's a whole mess. But I'm like, what? Like how, I mean, what if I just never came into the post office? I just never would have gotten this, and then I would have been like ignoring the feds. Oh my God.
Maybe that would have been better.
Yeah,
it's like
right.
ignorance is bliss, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, luckily I have no equity. I'm like, you could take like my computer, I guess that would suck, but I don't really
or
have
your sweatsuits, your glamorous sweatsuits.
Right. It's like, if you're going to seize my property, like, okay, like don't take my dog, but I mean, you can kind of have everything else.
Hey,
I don't know.
simple is better.
I'm being dramatic. It's not that bad. I don't know. Money's the pits.
It really is. And God, I mean, I have 3 PO boxes now. Three keys to boxes for mail. And I know I need to condense that. But that's the thing, is like simple is better. Like as much as I love the business my dad created, there's a lot going on. It's complicated. So it's like, it's made my life more complicated. And I kind of miss the simplicity of not having assets, but it's good and bad. Of course, it's wonderful to have assets and it'll be good long-term, but anyway, I ramble and I prattle, so I think we need to put a fork in this
is what
baby.
we do, everybody. If you enjoy the show, hopefully you enjoy our rambling, because we're so great at that. But let's all spare ourselves a little rambling, because we got to do this again next week, which we will. Yeah, so for now, we hope you had such a good time with us, and you have such a good day, and extend that into such a good week. Do some stretches, see if you can touch your toes.
Do some deep breathing.
Do some deep breathing. Maybe jump some rope. Drink some tea, and we'll be back here.
And smell the roses. Don't forget to do that.
Yeah, if you have any blooming. Yeah. Otherwise, just I don't know. Use your imagination. All right. Until next time, I will remain Sarah,
and I will always be Heather. Have
such a good
day.